From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Walkouts this week could lead to possible penalties for Arizona teachers.
Plus, we'll take you to the scene of the die-in that happened in Governor Doug Ducey's office and the response the students were given. Also, a legal debate in Washington, D.C. could affect a Central Arizona reservation's access to water.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Fortessa Latifi.
And I'm Chancellor Johnson. Thank you for joining us. Today, the Arizona Superintendent of Public Instruction called for teachers not to walk out of their classrooms. Last week, leaders in the Red for Ed movement announced they were calling for a walkout this Thursday to demand higher pay and more school funding. Reporter Gabrielle Becerra was at the State Board of Education meeting.
I've been advocating for increased teacher pay and developing funding sources specifically for our school. But I will say loudly and clearly, in my opinion, a strike is absolutely the wrong way to achieve this goal.
Superintendent Diane Douglas addressed what she called a strike at the State Board of Education meeting this morning.
Even with a statewide vote to strike, it's different here than it's been in other states because our teachers are not state employees.
So what's the difference between a strike and a walkout? Douglas says the best legal guidance on a teacher strike is from the 1971 State Attorney General's opinion. She says this is still considered good law and it prohibits strikes or walkouts.
Teacher strike by any name is unlawful in Arizona.
We asked the organizer of Arizona Educators United about the difference between a strike and a walkout. Noah Carvelis responded saying they operate in a very similar way. It's just the verbiage that we are using as advised by other organizations and legal representatives. Superintendent Douglas says a number of consequences could come from this, including parents taking legal actions,
which may place our state once again in the position of paying lawyers instead of funding our schools.
Among other consequences, she says the strike could result in teacher suspensions and revocations.
Our teachers have an ethical responsibility to the families and to the community they served.
Rather than walking out, Superintendent Douglas says educators need to negotiate with legislators.
They have a very substantive offer was put on the table to them, and I think they need to keep negotiating and not harm our children.
President Lucas Narducci says students and parents will be put at a disadvantage and the issues can be handled without a strike.
The proposal that has been set forth by the current administration is very reasonable.
In downtown Phoenix, Gabriella Becerra, Cronkite News.
Superintendent Diane Douglas says Arizona's Department of Education will be able to have finalized guidance to schools on all these issues by tomorrow.
Student activists respond to the lack of gun reform at the Arizona State Capitol. Cronkite News reporter Imani Stevens shares the story of a few of those students during a 6-hour die-in.
Want to move forward, we need to have discussions, not debates. We need to have an open dialogue between people who agree and disagree with gun control.
And to begin this discussion, Valley student activists protested in lobbies of several Capitol buildings.
We're supposed to be safe, and now this is what we have to do in order for our governor to listen to us. It's not fair.
Demonstrating what it's like to die.
No other kid has to lose their life in school.
The students say DPS officers tried to make their wait uncomfortable.
Here for 2 hours now. The reason that we came here today is because we have not been able to. We have not been able to get the governor's attention whatsoever. We have gone through every avenue possible.
We were sitting in there for 6 hours with police officers surrounding us. We were left in his office in the dark as they turned down the temperature to 60 degrees and left us freezing to the point where we had to come down the elevator because my hands were literally turning purple.
Hours and tweets later, there was not a response from the governor.
This is what the governor had to do. I don't know. Because he just can't tweet out at us. He can't reach across the aisle. He just can't acknowledge us.
From the march, the town halls, and now a die-in. The next step is to vote.
Moving forward, we will continue and we will stand strong and we will not stop until we reach the polls in November.
In Phoenix, Imani Stevens, Cronkite News.
March for Our Lives Phoenix organizers say the next possible die-in at the state capitol will happen on Thursday, April 26th, if school is canceled.
After this past school year, the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights stopped collecting reports of firearms incidents at schools. Without a standardized database in existence, it makes it difficult to track incidents. And while independent organizations like Everytown and Giffords use news reports to compile data, there's a lack of consistency in definitions and statistics. The AZ Safe database, which was used to better track incidents involving and relating to school violence, such as firearms and drug use, was defunded in 2011.
As voting closes tomorrow for Trent Franks' seat in the District 8 special election, a close race seems possible between Harold Tiperneny and Debbie Lesko, despite the district being primarily red. An issue the two candidates remain polarized on is President Trump's plan to build a border wall. Tiperneny believes that it would not be a responsible use of taxpayer money to start construction on the wall, whereas Lesko has advocated for President Trump's plan and wants more agents at the border. Be sure to tune in to Arizona PBS tomorrow night at 10 for special election coverage and recaps. And follow Cronkite News for continuing social media coverage.
The White Mountain Apache tribe wants to use federal funds granted from a 2010 bill to build a groundwater drinking system. But a bill that would clear the way for the project is on hold in the Senate over an amendment that would exempt tribes from federal labor oversight. Cronkite News reporter Austin Bundy has the story in Washington.
The National Labor Relations Board and water rights are not usually associated, but to the White Mountain Apache tribe, they're tightly entwined. A bill to give the tribe access to federal water project funds now includes an amendment to exempt tribal-run businesses from the Labor Board's rules. The bill passed the House earlier this year with the labor language included, but it's now stuck in the Senate. Arizona Representative Tom O'Halloran said it's because the amendment changes the original promise made with the tribe.
This is part of a settlement that we've agreed to as a federal government, as a state government, and other entities with the White Mountain Apache. And part of that was to build this dam. And I think we have that obligation. I know we have that obligation.
However, Arizona Senator Jeff Flake argued last week the amendment only gives tribes the same rights other state and local governments enjoy, adding that it's a question of tribal sovereignty.
In 2004, the NLRB inappropriately ruled that tribes are no longer exempt. This measure would create parity for tribal governments, giving them the same employer rights afforded to other federal, state, and local governments.
Robert Broccoli, special counsel to the White Mountain Apache tribe during the settlement, agrees and said tribal governments should be left to regulate their own businesses.
They don't need another layer of interference from the outside as to their economic development or the way they manage their limited resources, including labor.
But Democrats like Representative O'Halloran are accusing Republicans of holding the water bill hostage over language that has no business being included.
They're two separate and distinct issues, and yet we're treating them in one bill. One has nothing to do with water. The other one has a lot to do with water and important water issues in Arizona. And there's no way that they're germane to each other.
In Washington, Austin Bundy, Cronkite News.
It's unclear when or if the Senate will vote on the passage of the amendment. Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was unable to end debate on the issue Wednesday, and no further action has been taken since.
A historic Army building in Sierra Vista was on demolition row for years before community members took a stand. Reporter Nicole Hernandez explains why the structure is so significant to Arizona's military history.
When the Army built the Mountain View Officers Club in Fort Huachuca, it was supposed to be a temporary building for the military to use during World War II. But more than 60 years later, the community has pushed to make sure it will stand for decades to come.
During the World War II period, this building was used recreationally by soldiers training in this area, seen in this photo. But now the old and abandoned building is going to be repurposed.
Arizona State Parks recently received a $500,000 grant to repurpose the building, which was constructed in 1942 to train African American soldiers.
They were sort of the first iteration of border protection.
Media Relations Officer Tanya Linton says there were two officers' clubs, and the soldiers who used this one weren't happy with the Army segregating the officers.
And I think it's important for folks to know that history and not forget about it.
State officials have put years of work into preserving the historic site, and it is paid off with the National Park Service grant.
It will be an entertainment facility and restaurant facility that will serve the Fort Huachuca installation and also serve the broader Sierra Vista community.
we work hard and we play hard in the Army, and so we're all about having prime recreational facilities on the installation. We've got a lot of families and soldiers here, and they would certainly appreciate that.
In Sierra Vista, Nicole Hernandez, Cronkite News.
The building is one of only 2 standing facilities in the U.S. that the military used to train African-American Buffalo soldiers. The state will begin making essential repairs to the building structure.
Have you ever been on a flight, then felt sick soon after? Well, a new addition to Sky Harbor Airport may be a solution.
Coming up on Cronkite News, find out how Sky Harbor is making both employees and travelers healthier.
Plus, as illnesses continue to evolve, doctors are pushing for more research. More when we come back.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Sky Harbor Airport today opened an urgent care center in Terminal 4. Cronkite News reporter Mari Nelson talked to city officials who shared the benefits of this new airport addition.
I think everyone's had the experience of being sick, and then you don't want to fly and be sick where you're going.
According to Skyscanner, a global travel site, studies have shown that 1 in 5 people who travel on planes suffer from a cold or a flu after the flight.
I think the air is recirculated, so you have all those germs that are never really taken care of.
U.S. Careways will work to treat those who are sick at Sky Harbor Airport. John Schufelt, CEO of U.S. Careways, says they have about 40 types of medications that they can prescribe to patients.
For example, if you're flying and you have an inner ear infection, we can evaluate you, diagnose you, and treat you right here and give you medications to go home with.
U.S. Careways is going to have 5 rooms to see patients and additional rooms to take x-rays in.
The health center will be available to more than 100,000 passengers as well as the 32,000 employees.
The employees that are here on a daily basis and them having needs for flu shots, they get, the hand cut, a lesion, a stomach ache, perhaps a vaccination.
Schufelt says it's all about convenient access to health care without even leaving the airport or having to make an appointment.
I'm most excited that this is a new concept that'll be a one-stop shop for travelers.
You got to get to the airport early anyway. You might as well be productive while you're here.
In Phoenix, Mari Nelson, Cronkite News.
Viruses are becoming more resistant to antibiotics. Madison Miller explains why epidemiologists say more money needs to go into developing new and improved vaccines.
Healthcare officials that recently attended the Arizona Health Journalism Conference in Phoenix say that disease outbreaks are becoming harder to detect and treat. Saiba Shapar, director of epidemics prevention team at the nonprofit Resolve to Save Lives, says that we need to put more research into new vaccines.
These are living organisms that evolve and adapt. And so the medicines we have to treat things like bacterial infection, there hasn't been a lot of progress in coming up with new medicines.
Shapar says that he creates possible vaccines for different outbreaks. But for example, the strand that worked in January to get rid of the flu might not work in July because the virus has had time to adapt and evolve.
Just because you get a flu vaccine for, say, type A of a certain type, if there's a different type of flu out there circulating, you're not going to be protected, and that varies from year to year.
Even the ways they create the vaccine can be part of the problem.
There's some changes in the way we make flu vaccine in eggs. There's some adaptation there that can cause small changes. So all of these things and some other things lead to the fact that it's not necessarily a perfect match once the flu vaccine comes out.
Epidemiologist Sakia Popescu says that people don't have to rely on vaccines. They can prevent an illness outbreak in other ways, like finishing a dose of antibiotics and coughing into their elbows.
Hand hygiene is like the one thing you can do that's really going to make a difference. It's surprising. I don't think people really give it the credit it deserves.
All things you can do to help prevent the spread of germs when you are sick. In Phoenix, Madison Miller, Cronkite News.
Shapar urges people to get the vaccinations that are available to protect their health and the health of the community.
Pest control isn't always the most environmentally friendly product on the market.
Coming up on Cronkite News, find out how pest control could be damaging the ecosystem by killing more than its intended rodents.
And stay tuned to see if these above average temperatures are going to be staying with us throughout the rest of the week.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
Experts in Arizona are worried about an increase in wildlife deaths from wet rat poison. Cronkite News reporter Nicole Randak examines why they say this common pest control treatment is having a negative impact on our ecosystem.
Though it's one of the most common raptors in the United States, many of Arizona's great horned owls are dying. The culprit, according to Arizona Game and Fish, is rat poison.
We see rodenticide-related poisonings quite frequently, yes, unfortunately.
Ironically, using certain types of pest control to kill rodents can accidentally kill the very thing that keeps the rat population in check: owls.
In reality, great horned owls are probably one of the best pest control agents out there. And if we would just let them do their job, so to speak, I think we would have fewer problems with some of the rodent species that people are always complaining about.
Through necropsies, the Arizona Game and Fish Department identified more than 50 cases of wildlife poisoning from pest control chemicals since 2011. Poisons used to kill rodents, called rodenticides, affect the entire wildlife food chain. When a rodent ingests the poison, it becomes lethargic and turns into easy prey. The owls that eat those rats suffer from secondary poisoning, Allen says. When great horned owls, such as the ones behind me, ingest rodenticide, their bodies can no longer clot blood and fully heal, which results in excessive bruising and bleeding from their nose, lungs, and other organs. No animal is immune to the dangers of rodenticides, including coyotes, foxes, dogs, and cats.
We are only seeing pretty much the tip of the iceberg. The size of the problem is much bigger than the number of cases that we're actually seeing.
Allen says there may be more cases because there are no tests to determine if a live owl is poisoned, and the state doesn't perform a necropsy on every dead owl. But Don Calloway, owner of Arizona Organic Pest and Termite Control, disagrees.
So in my time in business, I've never experienced a case personally of secondary poisoning from a rodenticide.
Calloway says his company does try to reduce exposure to rodenticides by using other methods such as snap traps and repellents, but sometimes those methods aren't enough to get rid of the rodents.
There are absolute situations that without rodenticides, we're not going to be able to have any impact. We're not going to be able to really get any kind of effective control.
In Cave Creek, Nicole Randock, Cronkite News.
Rodenticide poisoning isn't just an Arizona problem. The Environmental Protection Agency has banned rodenticide manufacturers from selling some of the more toxic chemicals to residential consumers nationwide.
I keep hearing about a pollen warning this week.
And my allergies have been bad What's going on?
Yeah, so there was a high pollution advisory actually out for Maricopa County, including the greater Phoenix area. And this pretty much means that it is unhealthy for sensitive groups. So if you do fall under this category, try to stay indoors and limit those outdoor activities. But regardless of that advisory, it was a beautiful day for us here in Phoenix, a warm day for certain. 95 degrees was our high with mostly sunny skies though. But as we head into our evening, these temperatures are going to drop pretty cool. It'll cool down for us a little bit as we head into our night. 60 degrees around 4 a.m. and then these are going to shoot right back up. As we head into tomorrow, we are going to have a high of 95 degrees here in Phoenix, a high of 93 degrees in Tucson, 96 in Lake Havasu, and 73 in the Grand Canyon. Now Thursday is going to be our warmest day at 99 degrees. And then on Sunday, if you have any weekend activities, try to plan them on Sunday. It will be our coolest day of the weekend at 90 degrees. And then on Monday, we're going to drop into 86 as our high. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Holly Bach.
Imagine your first time being on a plane is also the first time you fly one.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we'll take a look at a Civil Air Patrol, which is the first of its kind, and a new squadron's first flight.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Third Rail with Ozzy, the new weekly show where we tackle the taboo and debate the tough questions with some of the most interesting minds in the game. I'm Carlos Watson, electrifying conversation, Friday, only on PBS.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
This is my first time flying. Might not be what you want to hear your pilot say, especially if you're about to take a trip over the Grand Canyon.
Our reporter Olivia Richard braved the unknown, joining some brand new pilots on their first historic flights.
It's not every day you get to go wheels up over the Grand Canyon as a student. But here in the Navajo Reservation, 8 students are earning their stripes with Civil Air Patrol.
There's another compass, but that one's more reliable. And right here's our GPS, and this one you can use to listen to the weather.
Members of Arizona's newest Civil Air Patrol squadron will forever remember this flight. That's because not only is this the first time most of them have been in a plane, it's also the first time they'll be piloting one.
It represents an opportunity for kids that are normally don't have as many opportunities as a lot of kids. We're based on the Navajo Reservation in a very remote area, and it also represents their history of service to the United States.
Presented with their official charter, the Code Talker Bahi Ketchum Composite Squadron 211 became the first Civil Air Patrol platoon to exist on a Native American community. With a whirl and the all clear, the cadets from this unlikely squadron took off.
And so as we started going towards the runway, I was really nervous. I was looking down because about maybe 30 seconds after we started driving down, I could feel the plane going up. It was cool.
For mother Felicia Yazzie, watching her son climb into the cockpit is a memory that's hard to put into words.
Heart-wrenching at the same time, but excited. Yeah. It was anxious, anxiety, I guess. I don't know. It was all in one.
Named after the late Navajo code talker Bahi Ketchum, the platoon represents a legacy that runs deeper than the canyons.
Oh, just having it named their squadron named after the code talker. It's something that our tribe has gone through, and that is very heartfelt.
The program offers youth the chance to expand their knowledge of aeronautics and in some cases acquire their pilot's license. It can even give them a head start on a career within the military.
He wants to go into the Air Force from after this, and I was just like, I know with this program at least he'll be a higher ranking once he gets done.
As the plane taxis in, marking the end of the cadet's first flight, the day marks a snapshot in a journey neither the pilots nor their families will ever forget. In Shanto, Arizona, Olivia Richard, Cronkite News.
The program also offers long-term career benefits.
Cadets who complete the Civil Air Patrol curriculum have the opportunity to continue their service as members of the armed forces, entering with elevated rank, status, and pay.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS.
Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we sit down with Republican congressional candidate Debbie Lesko and how a special group of dogs works to bring comfort to young patients.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. 5 years after a tragic fire at a Bangladesh garment factory, what's changed for those who make our clothes? That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
And for top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.